the real concern is the public. And if they do decide to do just the hype stuff, then how is that going to, like you said, affect the overall community? How is the community going to respond to that? How is the energy around sneakers going to respond to that? And how will that, how will that conversation go? Does that shrink the community of sneakerheads that are talking about it every day and that are really driving the culture online?
All right, hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Too Hard to Pass podcast. I am your co-host Juan Martinez, and to my left or to my right, he was doing a little dance over there. It's Jacques Slade, everybody. How we doing, man?
A little dance. I'm doing good. I'm doing good today, man. Yeah, it's a nice day today. It's a little chilly here in LA. It's kind of chilly in LA. Yeah, it's nice. It's not windy. It had like a windy, chill days the last couple of days, but it looks like we're back to normal now. So
yeah, back to normal though. Next week is probably going to be in the 90s or something around where I'm staying at. I'm like, oh, fantastic.
Really? Oh, I wonder. I'm gonna look. Now you got me curious. I'm gonna go look because it's been pretty cold here for the last couple of days.
Probably like in the 60s,
I'm saying California
right?
cold. Yeah,
California
cold, I should say. Oh yeah, says next week is gonna get up to like 86.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's warming up. Today it'll be 63, then 70, 75, 80. Yeah.
I'm sure the people
that'll be
appreciate the talk about the weather.
Especially people in like, where is it? Where did I saw something on Instagram today where it was snowing somewhere. Utah. Someone I follow in Utah.
Utah people listening to this or watching this are really appreciating the weather talk right now.
Yeah. Obviously, it gives them a reason to come to LA. I'm just helping the cause. I'm adding to the deck that they're going to present to their partner about why they should come to LA. That's all. Yeah. That's all I'm doing.
So it's like we're like California's tourism. Like we're like just come on.
Kind of like the tourism board. Yeah, it's a tourism board via podcast.
Well, we are actually not being paid by the California Tourism Board. Although if they do want to sponsor the podcast, we are more than willing and able to hype up LA.
Yeah. I mean, we do it anyway. So why not get paid for it?
Exactly. Well, speaking of like stuff that's cool here in Los Angeles, LA, whatever you want to call it. Since I am back now, like, regular schedule and all that stuff, had to do the Disneyland thing again, man. And I want to talk about something that, I don't know, I just noticed it now, but maybe it's been a thing for like past months, years or whatever. So do you remember the Goofy movie, Jacques?
I know there was a Goofy movie. I don't remember it to heart.
Okay. Do you remember there was a character there that was called Powerline? And
yes.
He was like a singer, and he was voiced by Tevin Campbell. And like, he sang like the pretty memorable song, Eye to Eye. Like people really liked that song. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, like the last time we were at Disneyland, which was like a couple of days ago, I noticed a lot of people wearing Powerline shirts or jackets or apparel.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, what? I knew like the Goofy movie has like a cult following. It's like got a lot of fans and everything, but like just the past trip to Disneyland got a lot of people wearing the shirts and just like really big upping like Powerline. And it just got me to thinking, I'm like, oh, is this like a 90s nostalgia thing and people are just really remembering, or like now they're really starting to appreciate the Goofy movie, which I remember watching as a kid and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool, but it wasn't anything spectacular or anything like that. It was just another Disney movie, right?
Yeah.
But I guess like people just have this like nostalgia for Powerline and Tevin Campbell, and I gotta ask you, man, like why wasn't Tevin Campbell like a bigger deal? Like it just got me to thinking about like Tevin Campbell as a singer in general and his career, and I'm like, why wasn't he like a bigger star, I guess?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question that I do not have an answer for. I don't know. I felt like he had a good run. Maybe he just didn't want to, once he got into the business, he realized it didn't where he want to be, or that second album, those second albums, man, they can make or break a career. And maybe I think that's what happened. But yeah, I mean, everybody still loves him, but he just kind of faded from the spotlight.
Yeah, like I mean, everybody knows "Can We Talk" and all that. Like I do remember trying to sing that to a girl once. Didn't work out, but yeah,
But
like
you
I just
tried.
it got me to thinking about like Tevin Campbell just in general. I was like, oh man, why wasn't he like a bigger deal? Like in the '90s,
Yeah.
obviously he was like a big deal, like early '90s and all that stuff, and he did have this thing with Disney. So like what happened in like the 2000s, really never heard much about him, but like, and I looked it up like on YouTube. I guess there's like people really trying to get him back into like the fold, and like there's a lot of like goofy movie Disney appreciation, and they're trying to get him to like go back and like perform the song and everything. So I'm like, oh cool, maybe there's a comeback of sorts for Tevin Campbell like in this 2020s. So good for him. But yeah, no, I just noticed that there was just a lot of people wearing that, and it just got me to thinking about that era of like R&B. It's like, oh, like Tevin Campbell was one of those big stars, and it just never,
Yeah.
beyond like the initial run, it just never really like kept going, you know?
Yeah. I know there is a bit of a tangentially, I know there's a bit of like a goofy movie revival kind of happening right now. There's a
Mm-hmm.
really popular movie reviewer that's on TikTok,
Ah.
and Goofy movie is like his favorite Disney movie, and he talks
Mm.
about it a lot. Even like his online moniker is Straw Hat Goofy, and he has a very he's like very passionate about the Goofy movie. Like it was like a pillar, like a core memory in his childhood.
Ah,
And
okay.
yeah, he does like really much of movie reviews. He's really popular right now. And
Ah,
I
okay.
also saw that he did a like he talked to the director of that movie kind of thing. Like he's that deep into it. So I
Oh, that's
think
cool.
he probably helped spur some of that interest in
Mm.
the Goofy movie, or that revival
Yeah.
in the Goofy movie. Like even me, like I'm seeing it out because he's so passionate about it. It's got me thinking like, do I need to go back and watch Goofy movie? Like, did I
Yeah, I
miss
know, right?
something? like, like what did
Like
I
I know
miss?
I've listened to that song. Like I remember when we were the family we were on the Disney cruise, that song like sparked a lot of like people my age like getting pumped for it. I'm like, man, really? Like I just did not just never really occurred to me that there was just this fandom for
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say obscure, but like a low key movie. It wasn't like one of those like tent poles like Lion King or like Aladdin or Mulan or
right,
whatever during like
right.
the '90s. Goofy movie was just
Yeah,
yeah, it's just one of those like movies starting like one of the big like one of the temple characters like Goofy or Mickey Mouse or whatever. So, but no, good on them. Like, and I now that I've heard the song again, I'm like, oh, that's a really good song. I really do like that song. So I'm like,
I need
shout
to
out to
listen to it
Tevin
again.
Campbell.
I don't
Yeah,
remember it. I don't remember it. I got to listen to it again. I remember the
yeah,
character Powerline, but I don't remember the song. I'll have to go
yeah.
back and I'm sure once I listen to it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that absolutely, yeah, yeah, I get
Watch next episode. We're just like singing along to it, just humming along to it. Like,
it.
okay. All right, so that was the lighter side of the show, Jacques. So I guess now we have to talk about something that I think is going to really affect like the sneaker world. Well, maybe we don't know exactly
Possibly,
how everything's good. Possibly. Tariffs, they're
yeah,
here, maybe, or who knows, or whatever. But our president, he announced a 10% baseline tariff on all imported goods, but that's on top of like other tariffs that are already in place. And Nike, they, one of the things that they do is like, a lot of their products are from, produced in different countries, China, Vietnam, although most of the production now is like in Vietnam and Indonesia. The problem with that is that I guess the tariffs, they are going to be between 46% and 32%. So that's
yeah,
going to cause a lot of like issues for Nike, and it's already like affected their stock price. People are really worried about how that's going to really affect the sneaker business and everything, and how with tariffs, the cost of that, the price of that is not necessarily like the companies will absorb some of that, but
yeah,
the reality is like when tariffs are implemented, the cost of that is passed on to the consumers. And the reality is that we are, assuming all of these things, go into place, we are going to start seeing higher prices in sneakers. And there is a footwear news article that kind of calculated like how much these prices could go up. And I'm starting to look at it here right now. We could
yeah.
see like the Nike Air Force One, which is currently priced at 115. It could cost as much as 129.
Yeah.
Air Max 90, 130 could go up to like 145. Air Jordan 1s, which are priced at 180, could go up to 200, to which I would say, wasn't it already a 200?
Right. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it already felt like it was a 200. And then the foam posits, which are currently priced at 240, could go up to like 270. So that's a lot, man. That's a very significant jump. And so again, these are all speculation. No one exactly knows how these tariffs will be implemented and whether
Yeah.
deals will be negotiated and whether there will be exemptions. Like when Trump previously implemented tariffs during his first administration, some companies managed to carve out like exemptions for them. That's why Apple, I guess, was not terribly affected by like the tariffs that Trump implemented the first time. But it seems like with this one, assuming all of them do get implemented, is going to result in higher prices for everything. But
Yeah.
in the for the too hard to pass like audience, the thing that's going to be affected them to most is sneakers. And man, that's going to be tough. That's going to be rough on
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, we should also state that like this is all like worst case scenario. If the
Yes.
companies decide to pass on every penny of the tariffs onto the consumer, that's where we
Mm-hmm.
get some of those prices from. A lot of, I think, a lot of it is based on margin. A lot of these companies have huge margins. I don't know exactly what the margin is. I read somewhere that Apple's margin is like 38% or something like that. So
Right.
they do have some wiggle room to
Mm-hmm.
absorb some of that cost,
Yes.
but I feel like most companies will treat this like they treated the pandemic when they were raising prices for things, and they never really went reset prices because they got too used to those profits. I feel like this is going to be the
Yes.
same thing. The prices of things are going to go up, and there's not really going to be a reset to lower the prices. So will the American public is really going to bear the brunt of that of those changes.
Yeah. And that's going to be tough. And there's going to be a lot of like, tough decisions made by a lot of people, whether they're going to buy, you know, the stuff that's not like critically important. And let's be honest, sneakers are not the most critically important thing. There's a lot of stuff, food, shelter, clothing, although clothing's probably going to
All
go
those
up.
things. Yeah, yeah. Clothing's gonna go up too. Food's gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
up.
And the reality is for me too, like it's like I wasn't really buying a lot of sneakers, and thankfully that was because of like the previous job that I had, and
Yeah,
and even after that, I was like, I don't really buy a lot. I mean, I do buy some, but I'm gonna, obviously, I'm also gonna make decisions like, should I buy this Jordan 1, or should I buy this whatever, right? Like, so
yeah,
there's probably gonna be like, decisions that have to be made, and it is what it is. Like, hopefully this stuff will get resolved, but at the same time, you know, they're just gonna have to be people are gonna have to make some choices that they don't want to make, and how is this going to affect sneaker culture? Because we do rely on like the weekly cycle of like, oh, this thing's coming out, oh, get ready to
yeah,
buy this thing, or that sort of. So there might be less of that. So it's just a matter of like how all of this is gonna affect the sneaker. Like, will there be that traditional hype cycle every week of like, oh, this thing's coming out? And of course, there's also the speculate. Like I also read the Sneaker Freaker article where maybe one way Nike could like offset some of this is to keep the prices of the GRs relatively the same,
hmm
but they might price out like the tough the hype sneakers and like increase the prices of those. Jordan 1s could
yeah,
go up, foam posits could go up, collabs, which are already like relatively expensive, they'll probably go up. So it looks like in that scenario, sneakerheads could actually bear the brunt of this, and I wonder
yeah,
how that's gonna affect the community, because for some people, like, for them, the way that the higher prices are, they're like, oh, good, this kind of keeps like certain people who are just buying it to resell out of like there's already been that conversation, right? Like
yeah,
with Jordans being priced the way that they are, Kobe's being priced at the way that they are, it's kind of keeping a certain level of resellers out, and it's allowing them to buy it. So I wonder if the prices going even higher will allow the people who quote unquote really want them are now able to get them, because it's pricing out those who are resellers or casual people who just want to jump on the bandwagon or whatever. I wonder if it's going to have that kind of effect on the sneaker community.
Well, I mean, I think prices were already creeping up.
Yeah,
That was already like the cost of sneakers was already a conversation. So I don't think I think this is just going to exacerbate that. This is just going to make that worse. Like that's going to become more of the conversation. It's one thing if brands were keeping the prices low and things weren't jumping up $10, $20 every time there's a release. But now I think that's going to be highlighted even more and brands may start taking a little more heat about their pricing and how high they're pricing things. As for resellers, like I try not to account for them really in any of these any of these kind of talks.
yeah,
Uh, Nike and everybody else is already kind of eaten into the profits of resellers by mass producing stuff and pricing stuff higher. So those guys were already in a position to be losing money and to be very wary of what they were buying and what they were reselling unless they were doing some kind of incredible mass bulk order. But at
right,
this point, they were already hurting, and again, this is just going to make that worse. But the real concern is the public, and if
yeah,
they do decide to do just the hype stuff, then how is that going to, like you said, affect the overall community? How is the community going to respond to that? How is the energy around sneakers going to respond to that? And how will that conversation go? Does that shrink the community of sneakerheads that are talking about it every day and that are really driving the culture online,
right.
or does everything go to business as usual and people talk about it but they're buying less? Maybe they continue to talk about things but they just don't actually buy product, or it could be the opposite where they just kind of remove themselves from that just because the pricing scenarios are just too wild for them to even consider, and it's like a waste of energy to be talking about this stuff online when buying it is out of the question.
I feel like when you put all of those things into play, I feel like the part where people talk about it but just buy less seems to be the most, because people are still going to want to have something to talk about on the internet. Like people are
Yeah,
just going to want to be able to produce content, talk about it, and all that stuff, and just reality buy less. Which I don't know. I feel like a lot of people were doing that already because, like you said,
yeah,
prices were already going up. This is just
yep,
gonna, just keep that train rolling, assuming all of these tariffs actually come into play. And the reality is like we're kind of the same way. Like we do hard pass, we do all of your content, and it's not like we have every sneaker that we talk about. You know,
no, not at all, not at all.
so I mean, we keep on doing that. We just talk about them regardless of whether we have them or not. And yeah, no, I think that's gonna be one of that's probably gonna be like the outcome in terms of like sneaker community, because I feel like there's always gonna be like a online sneaker community talking about sneakers, whatever their price is at, and maybe just makes people think more about like what they buy and just are less reckless or less like likely to maybe just think more about like which ones do I actually want to have.
Yeah,
And you already hear about it. Like I remember there was that article that Matt Welty put up on Complex, where he was like where he was like bringing like lowering his collection and just selling
yeah,
them or moving them or donating them. And I feel like now that with all of this like price increases and all that stuff, I feel like that's going to be a lot of stories. A lot of people are going to have that kind of similar stories where they're like toning down their collection or just being more smarter about what they buy, and
yeah,
maybe end up becoming like maybe more responsible consumers. So maybe that's like one effect where maybe that's actually like a good thing, but obviously higher prices are not a good thing. One thing I did want to talk about though is like obviously one of the things that the Trump administration wants to, the end goal of this is to have people buying American, is to
yeah,
move production here to America. And
yeah,
I've read a lot of articles, and a lot of them are just saying that's not realistic. And even if it was, what if these tariffs get lifted, and what if these certain things do happen? The reality is like not a lot of companies have like sneaker companies. Not a lot of them make their stuff in America.
right,
And New Balance is the one big company that does do some of it. But if you look at the prices of the New Balance made in USA stuff, they're always priced significantly higher than your
yep,
typical like New Balance. So I know there's a certain pride to like buy American and all that stuff, or whatever country, right? Like buy your local, support your local business, support your local. But in the terms of like sneakers, yeah, if you like, if that does happen, expect the sneaker prices to like, if you think $300 like New Balance whatever 99 twos are like a lot. Yeah, what do you think is going to happen when like Jordan, like say Nike were to move their production here to the US? Like if those New Balances cost that much, how much do you think foam posits are going to cost, or how much Jordan ones are going to cost? So, it's one of those like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but it's one of those also be careful what you wish for kind of things, right?
Yeah, because I mean, people, it's not, fortunately, as the American public, we don't usually have to think about the wages that they're paying people in these different countries, and that's how they're able to keep prices down, which makes them able to sell things here cheaper than they would be. But as in America, there you have a right to a living wage in a sense, or there people are fighting to have a living wage, and that's going to impact the bottom line of companies, and companies don't like to have their bottom lines impacted. They like to pass that on to the consumer, and that's what's going to happen. I think prices of everything in a sense that we use will go up, and that's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. There's a supposedly people way smarter than me working on this, and I hope they have some empathy for the normal American, because it doesn't seem like it right now.
Yeah, it does. It sure doesn't sound like it right now. So, yeah, you would hope like maybe these companies would have a little bit more empathy towards their shareholders, who always want like the arrow to go up and to the right, sharply up. It's not even about like the
Sharply.
arrows going up and to the right. It has to go sharply up and to the right. But
Yeah.
the reality is like if people aren't buying it, people aren't buying like these increased costs, whatever sneakers, clothing, whatever luxury goods, that arrow isn't going to go pointing up and to the right sharply, or any direction that they want it to go.
Yeah, like
So they also have to
they
keep that
want
in
you to,
mind.
yeah, they want us to swallow that, like, oh, it's going to get better, but it's like the same people that want these tariffs, they know the prices are going to go up and things are going to cost more, but also they're like, no, you don't need to earn more money. We need minimum wage to stay what it is. So it's like,
Exactly.
like it can't be both. It can't be both.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly right. Like, you want these prices to go up, but you're not like paying the people the proper wages, the exact wages to like, keep catching up to the cost. So, yeah, man,
Exactly.
like, we're a nominally a sneaker podcast, so like, a lot of this conversation is like out of our range if we're being honest, but at the same time,
Yeah, for
we're not
sure.
oblivious to the things that are going on to the, to the real world. We try to keep this show and all of, a lot of your content, Jacques, like, kind of like a respite, like, kind of like a distraction, kind of like a way for people to not think about like, the kind of stuff. But at the same time, this
Yep.
stuff is going to affect us, so, we felt like we had to talk about it, at least for a little bit. So,
I mean, especially
you
the
know,
sneaker market. We're going to see it in the sneaker market,
yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah. And
which is,
like, when we start doing
where
the
we
heat check,
work.
we should, when we start doing the heat check, like, when we put the script together, we're going to be like, is that price? What's the price on that? Should we just not put the price anymore? Just be like, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Or yeah, that gives me an idea for a YouTube video, like the value sneakers, buy like good sneakers that are of value.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Something that's going to either last you a while or just timeless or
yeah.
whatever. It's that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, like, maybe not say tariff proof sneakers, but like sneakers that are going to, kind of keep you going, like, that are going to stand the test of time. Maybe that's kind of
Yes.
like something that's going to keep it, maybe we should like put that offside, like, talk about that. We don't want to give ideas away here or anything like that.
No, we'll just do it. We'll just do it this weekend. We'll do it tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah,
That's a good
totally,
idea.
totally. All right, so moving on, we'll try to, like I said, we just wanted to address that and, just kind of keep that in mind because, it's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect all of
Yeah.
us. So,
Gonna be
all
tough.
right, moving on to less serious, important stuff going on in the world. Carmelo Anthony, he's
Hall
going
of
to the
Fame,
Hall of
baby.
Fame. Congratulations to
Something,
Melo.
something Hall of Fame. There's a song, isn't there a song? Hall of Fame. I don't know it. Okay, I tried.
What was
I gave
that?
it.
I
There's
can't.
a song. Some
It wasn't
something
sung by
sitting
Tevin
in the
Campbell, was it?
Hall of Fame. No, no, it's like sitting in the Hall of Fame or going
Okay,
to the
okay.
Hall of Fame. It's something like
Okay, we
that.
need to
It's a
stop
Hall of
it.
Fame
You sound
song.
like when I try to sing that, can we talk to a girl? Okay, we we can't keep going. Anyways, yeah, Carmelo Anthony. It's not official yet as of this recording, but it's being widely reported that he is going to be enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is, the ceremony is typically like, later in the year and everything, but they typically
Yeah,
announce the people who make it during Final Four weekend, which is this coming weekend. But yeah, no, Melo. He's a Hall of Famer, man, and dang, I feel old because
ah,
I remember watching that Final Four when Melo won the championship as a freshman, and I'm like, man, this guy's good. Why are we talking
yeah,
about this LeBron guy again? Like, why are we talking about like this high school kid who hasn't done anything? And meanwhile, we have this kid who won a national championship as a freshman. Why are we not talking more about him? And
yeah,
yeah, no, for a while there, when Melo and LeBron got into the NBA, I was more like, yeah, I think Melo's gonna have a better career. I think because he's proven himself in the college level, and yeah, I thought there was I felt like it was gonna be more even, or like Melo was gonna like
yeah,
jump over LeBron or something like that. Of course, that was very very wrong, but that's not to say that Melo did not have like a Hall of Fame worthy career, because he absolutely did. He did well
yeah.
in Denver, although kind of burned the bridges out of Denver, and then he went to the Knicks and kind of had a moment there. You know,
Yeah, he had a moment that it was just right there to just
just right
really
there,
turn things.
exactly right
Yeah,
there.
it felt really close. Yeah,
Yeah, and you know, and the thing is like at the end of the day, like yes, he is Hall of Fame worthy, but there's always going to be people who are going to kind of diminish his legacy because he never reached the same heights that fellow, like LeBron did or like Dwayne Wade did. Those guys won championships. And that's the big glaring missing thing in Melo's resume. Like, he's got the All Stars, he's got the scoring champion, he's got the Olympic gold medals, and arguably he's one of the best, if not the best, Olympian that we've ever had, suited for Team USA because of the number of times he actually did do that. So, he's got the resume, but he's always going to be judged against his peers, which is a bit of a bummer because
yeah,
Dwayne Wade and LeBron are like upper tier, level superstars, and it's a shame that Melo never got there, but it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like,
yeah. Oh, he definitely doesn't have a shameful career by any standard. If anything, he's had better than I would say 95% of the league kind of career. So
yeah,
there's nothing. I hope no one on the internet is finding this trying to find this as a way to shit on Carmelo because he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. He played like a Hall of Famer. He's always been a next level talent, and kudos to him. But yeah, I hope no one's trying to like shade Carmelo because he doesn't have a championship trophy like that. I mean, we can't stop that, and it gets clicks, and it's like rage bait at its finest. But hopefully, people are smarter than that, especially when it comes to Mello. But we'll see. We'll see what ESPN and their hot takes have to say.
I think there are two, like when people talk about like like trying to discredit Melo, and to be fair, we've made our fair share of jokes here on the show on Hard Pass about Melo's career, especially when it comes to his time in Denver and the fact that he is kind of thirsting over a jersey retirement because but sadly he has to deal with the fact that someone else wore number 15 in Denver and
Yeah,
delivered a championship to Denver and is probably on his way to becoming a top 15 player of all time in Nikola Jokic.
yeah,
So I feel like that's a huge part of the reason why people kind of bag on Melo. And of course, there's the whole thing with New York, and he was never able to lead New York to a championship. But at the same time, I'm like, Patrick Ewing never led the Knicks to a championship, but like people love him in New York.
People love
So
him. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know why Melo wouldn't get the same amount of love because he did what he could. It's not like he always had like the best roster or anything like that, but it also
And
he
that
had the
makes a big
misfortune
difference.
and also had like the misfortune of running up against the Miami LeBron era, and or basically just the LeBron area period.
Yeah. 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 I get, yeah. The entire LeBron era. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
His career, I guess,
yeah.
is
So
just a part of the LeBron era, not even the full LeBron
not
era,
even the full,
obviously.
yeah. But
Yeah.
he kind of like suffered through like the peak of like LeBron's
Peak.
powers,
Yes.
right? Miami
Yes. Yeah.
LeBron, that second run in Cleveland LeBron is like, just is how the way it works go sometimes. But the other thing I did want to talk about with Melo is his sneaker legacy. I
Yeah.
feel like he's kind of up there in the Jordan Brand like hierarchy. Like I've always argued when I was working at Kicks on Fire that Ray Allen is arguably the best Jordan Brand athlete ever. But
Mm.
Melo has a compelling argument too. He had a really
Yeah.
long signature shoe run that I didn't realize actually got up to 12. I thought it ended around the M10, but I guess it kept
Yeah.
going until like the M12 or even M13. So I'm like, oh yeah, good on him. But yeah, like from his PE, his player exclusives that kind of dominate, like especially the ones that people remember, like in the Nuggets colors, and of course his own signature shoe line, which did have some actual legitimate bangers. People
Yeah.
don't really talk about that anymore, but like people talk more about like what PEs, what Jordan 1s or Jordan 2s or 12s or whatever that people that Melo has or whatever PJ Tucker stole from Melo. That's like a
Yeah.
running joke and everything. So, but yeah, man, like his sneaker legacy is pretty high up there, and yeah, man, it's undeniable. I think.
Yeah, I think he definitely has had a very solid signature run. I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, most like the 8, 9, 10 are the standouts for me. I was never
Yes.
like I wasn't a super fan, especially like the 1.5 and like I wasn't a fan of though. I mean, I respect them for what they are in the community, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of people like love them. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was like those later years is when it really started to kind of like really like pop for me. Like, and it's like, it's weird because it's like the opposite for Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul's early signature stuff was like top tier for me. And then as the years kind of
Ah.
went on, like it kind of died off of me. But for Melo, it was those later years. But, I mean, it's such a clouded signature sneaker market these days. That it is. I mean, even when he was there, like so many people have signature shoes these days.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be a lot simpler. Like that was everybody's dream, obviously, to have a signature shoe. And it's great that people are getting them, but it makes for a very flooded market, and a lot of them aren't good, so to speak. But Melo was one of the ones that kind of had a shoe that really stood out and had a signature line that really stood out
Mm-hmm.
amongst all the fray. Now did it sell well? That's a different conversation. Because I think if it sold well, he would have still had one throughout the rest of his career. But
Yes.
they eventually stopped, and I think just kind of made him started. He just started wearing the game shoes, the signature game shoes, after a
Right.
while.
And it's a bummer too because like when it comes to people talking about non-signature non-Air Jordans, always people talk about like Team Jordans and kind of making it like a derogatory term.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like no, like Melo had a pretty good run, and yeah, like it kind of got overshadowed because of like the market flooding and again, it was also around the time when the LeBron line was popping for Nike and like the KDs and the Kobe's were popping. So
Popping.
even though we were fans of like the M9 and the M10, especially the M10, I feel like the M10 is like for me my personal favorite. Like I understand like why people like the 1.5. I remember reading like the Jordan Brand magazine when that was a thing, and they were talking about the 1.5, and I thought it was actually pretty funny. Like I could be misremembering it, but there is in that magazine there's like a sketch of the 1.5,
Oh
and it's
wow.
talking about like everybody's influences, like what the designer, what the input was, and then for some reason like there's that kind of headband like looking thing on like the top on the tongue, and that's the only thing they said that was Melo's input, and I always thought that was funny. I was like, man, kind of throwing Melo under the bus there. Like, you could have like not said that, or like,
Oh,
fibbed a little bit and said like Melo had a little bit more input into the signature shoe and everything. But anyways, regardless, like the 1.5, I do understand why people have a lot of nostalgia for that, because early 2000s,
yep,
it kind of
yep,
had that, Jordan 1 kind of look to it. So I get
same.
that. But for me, the M10 was really, I feel like, the peak. It was
Yeah,
designed by Tinker. It had a lot of Jordan 28 vibes to it, and it performed well. I
yes,
remember actually hooping in those, and I was like, "Hey,
yeah.
man,
Those
these are
are
these are pretty good. These are
those were
nice."
legit. Those were legit balling shoes. Like the Mellow, like the 910. Those were like legit balling shoes. Like you could get it in those. So they
Yeah,
did a great job. They did
absolutely,
a
absolutely.
shout out to Tinker.
Yeah. So, congratulations to a Melo, former Los Angeles Laker Melo. I will never not think that was funny. I remember watching a game at Staples where I was like, wait a minute, I'm watching a Laker game where Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis are on the same team. What is
Yeah.
this? I cannot.
What world is this? Yeah.
What kind of alternate reality did we end up in? And I was like, oh man, I was just like 2016. This would be so awesome, but it was like 2020, whatever year that was that they all played together, right? It was like,
Yeah.
man, if this was like 6 years ago, this would be badass. Like they'd
This
be
would be
wrecking the league.
incredible. Yeah, we let nostalgia get the best of us in that Laker era for
But
sure.
that's the thing though, is like when I watched that game, I'm like, man, this would be so cool if this was like, oh man, like this would be so cool if they were all in their prime. And it's like, man, damn, they would have
If they
been
were all in their
nuts.
prime, they wouldn't have all been on the same team. They would have
That's
never
the other thing, is these guys would not be on
never
the
let
same
that
team.
happen.
And that was the thing
Yeah.
about Melo, is he always kind of was that dude who was like kind of did his own thing, right? Like,
Hmm.
LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh, they all teamed up. Melo, I guess there was something about like his deal where he had like an extra year, so he couldn't end up on the Heat or whatever team they wanted to end up with. He always kind of like did his own thing, and I kind of have to respect. Like in hindsight, like originally at the time, I was like, man, Melo's kind of a sucker, kind of a fool for like not teaming up with his boys, right?
With his
Not
boys,
teaming up,
yeah.
not doing the super team thing. But at the same time, now that I think about it, like in retrospect, I'm like, kind of respect Melo doing his own thing, like kind of charting
Yeah,
his own path and being like, hey man, I got paid. Maybe I didn't win a championship, but I did my own thing. So there's a little bit there's a little bit of respect to that, I think.
yeah. I mean, is that like an ego thing though? You know what I mean?
Probably,
Is
probably.
that just like Melo's ego? Like, oh, I don't need to do it with everybody else. I can do it by myself. And then are you disappointed? I guess for me, it would be less of him doing it on his own, is whether he regrets that decision. That's probably the bigger question for me. Like, do you regret? If you don't regret it and you're like, no, I gave it my all and I just didn't do it, cool. Yes, great decision. But if you're like, man, I definitely should have did that, then that's when like, I feel bad.
Well, he does have a podcast, so maybe he will admit to it at some point. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever actually get the real honest, like how he really felt about that whole era. Maybe
Yeah.
if how much do we think differently about Melo if he had joined up with those guys, or did the Banana Boat team, right? Like him, LeBron, Melo, CP3, D Wade. Like, how different will we think about Melo's legacy if he had joined up with that? Would we think more positively about him if he had gotten a ring with all of those guys, or would we think less of him because he just jumped on the bandwagon? It's different. Like, there's a lot of different alternatives to how we would think about Melo, but it's still not a career to be ashamed of. Like, at the end of the day,
No, not at
it's
all.
Hall of Fame, man. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So, congrats to
Like
Melo.
the it made me think of like the NBA multiverse of what would happen if certain moves would have been made. If like Chris Paul would have been allowed to come to the Lakers,
Oh boy,
how
there we go.
would we know so much? Would Blake still be the player that he was? And
Yeah.
where would the Lakers have more championships, or would LeBron have come? Like all of those things.
Yeah, no disrespect to the late great David Stern, but man, that was messed up. I like how we had a discussion about Melo ended up with us talking about the Lakers getting screwed out of that trade.
Well, we talked about Melo on the Lakers, so you got to
Yeah,
bring it
well,
back. Got to bring it
you got to
back.
bring it back. Got to bring it. All right, so moving on to something that is very important to us, Jacques. This coming week, it's a tradition, unlike any other. The
That's what they say.
Masters, and you are actually going to be at Augusta. You told me right before we did this show that you were going to be at Augusta, and I have to say, what the? Where's my invite? What am I doing? Come on, man! Like, what are we
I
doing
didn't
here?
I didn't have any control over this. Shout out to the folks over at Nike because they made the connect. They know how much I love the sport, and they hooked me up with 2 tickets. I guess they had extra tickets. So I'll be there. Well, a ticket each day, 1 ticket per day.
Oh, okay, 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 okay,
One Saturday.
okay.
Um,
I thought you were
yeah.
like,
So
oh, now I have a two. Yeah, man, I'm taking so and so. I'm like, oh man, what the heck? I
yeah.
thought we were like that, man. I thought it was tight. I thought we were.
So I'll be there. Yeah, so I'll be there Friday and Saturday. It's gonna be hard to bring back any content because they don't let any cameras or anything
Yes,
inside.
yes,
So
yes.
like that's the part that kind of sucks about it. It's like I get to go and it's just my own internal experience, and I don't get to really share it. I guess I could talk about it or bring back some goods. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It should be fun. Hopefully the weather holds up. Last time I was there, it was cold and rainy, so hopefully this
All right,
time
yes.
we get to skip that part of it.
What? Okay, so how when you saw the Tiger tweet or whatever he posted it, how quickly were you like, this is a joke?
That it was on April Fool's, so I didn't believe anything on April Fool's.
Yeah, it's just a general rule, right? You see it, you're like, it's April Fool's, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it's April Fool's. Don't believe anything. Mm-mm. Nope.
Like I do have like a habit of like forgetting that it's April 1st and like believing it for a second and then just be like, nope, this can't be real.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't. I even tweeted out that morning, like, don't forget, guys. Today is April Fool's Day. Believe nothing you see or read on the internet today. So
Absolutely not. Absolutely
when I
not.
saw it, I was like, well, I was more just like, oh, Tiger tweeted. All right, that's cool. Like, maybe it's an injury update or he's talking something about Masters. But then he was like, after 2 days, my ruptured Achilles. I was like, oh no, that's impossible.
Yeah.
This is the April Fools.
Yep. Yep. And if some people were like, "Oh, come on, man!" Like,
Yeah,
people
it's
get
very
your hopes
rude.
up and everything, but I'm like, "There's no way this is real because of like the how soon the injury was." I was like, like
Exactly,
medically impossible for this to happen. So I was like, I knew it was a
exactly.
joke pretty quickly, but I was like, still at the same time, like, man, Tiger, why you got to do? Because people are gonna fall for it. People are gonna be like, "It's a miracle!"
Yep.
Like praise the
What
golf
kind of
gods.
doctors
Like
he got?
I know,
Yeah.
right? Where did he go in Germany to get like whatever
Right.
special?
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. That's exactly what
Oh
they would
my
have done.
gosh. Well, anyway, so the Masters, it's going down this coming week, and I looked at the odds, and it looks like it's what you would expect. Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy are kind of like the leaders in the betting odds and everything, but you're more in tune with like the current golf, you know, kind of like the week to week and everything, Jacques. Like, how are you looking? How are you thinking about like the field and who are you looking at as like a favorite or an underdog or like a dark horse or anything like that? How are you looking at the upcoming tournament?
I mean, I think the favorites are all pretty much the same, or what we would expect. So Scotty and Rory. I'm leaning more in the Rory camp than I am in the Scotty camp.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is it because
John,
like Scotty's still recovering from his injury, or
no,
why would you?
I think Rory's just been playing better this year.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty hasn't. Scotty's been playing well, but he hasn't been like on the kind of like barn burner run he was last year.
Yes.
So more in favor of Rory than Scotty. I think Rom all still like he's still a beast. He still
Always a
has a
threat.
chance. Um, I know Joaquin Neiman. He's obviously over at Live. Like he wants. I feel like he wants it. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's going to play well
He's
enough to
very
get it,
vocal. He's
but
very
it feels like
vocal
he
about.
wants it. And then honestly, Bryson. People
Yeah.
haven't. I think the conversation around Bryson needs to have a little bit more energy. Bryson might be the one that shocks everyone. So we'll
Which
see.
is wild to say because he's a major winner. I feel like the Bryson as a personality has kind of overtaken the conversation when it comes to him, and there's
Yeah.
less talk about him as golfer Bryson, which is, we've also made our fair share of jokes about DeChambeau on the show and everything, but there's no denying that he is a talented, one of the best
Oh,
out there.
one of the best.
But at the same time, like, he's kind of, some of it is self-inflicted just because of, like, the stuff that he's done in the past, and also, but now,
Yeah.
like, his YouTuber persona has kind of taken over, any talk about him, and whether
Yeah.
that's good or bad. So people are forgetting that he's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I feel like, for me personally, I feel like it would be great if Rory could finally just get things over with, and
Yeah.
get that career grand slam, and finally we can just stop talking about it, because it's been a decade. Yes, it's been a decade since he last won a major, and the Masters has constantly eluded him. So I just
Yeah.
feel like it would be great if we could finally, just for everybody's sake, we could just stop talking about it. Just be like, he got his major, he got number 5, he got the Grand Slam, and it's like, oh, thank you. It would just be like it wouldn't just be like a huge, relief for Rory. I feel like it would be a huge relief for everybody, the golf world, the fans. It would just be like, we could just all breathe a sigh of relief and be like, finally, we could
Not the
just.
Rory haters. The Rory haters.
Oh no, the Rory
They,
haters are around. Yes, yes.
they're just gonna it's gonna like I could just see like them falling apart, just like oh no, oh, no. Like, yeah. Oh, also Ludwig. I didn't even think about that. Ludwig, Colin, like those
Yes.
guys are cooking too. So yeah, there's. I mean, it could be a really interesting Sunday if everybody plays up to like their potential. It could be really interesting on Sunday.
Yeah. How are we feeling about, like, Chef Min Woo? He did do that pretty funny, the aim point to win his first
Yes.
PGA Tour, victory last week, and I thought that was hilarious. And Scheffler, also, his reaction to seeing that was also pretty priceless.
Yeah.
So, I always like, seeing who are, like, winning and are doing well right before the Masters, because they have the momentum and everything. So I feel like he could be someone that kind of creeps up there and is like somebody people don't expect. But he's just waiting for that breakthrough, and he is one of those guys. Like, he had his win. Maybe it's one of those, like, he finally got that PGA Tour win, and maybe
Yeah.
that's the thing that kind of, like, opens the floodgates and, like, kind of gets things going for him. So looking out for that. Where are we on, like, Justin Thomas? Like, where are we on JT at the moment? Because
I think
I
I'm
saw a
still
thing where,
pretty
like,
high. I'm still
he's back
pretty
in the
high.
top 10. But I'm like, wait, has he won a tournament since what was it, the 2022? And it seems like he hasn't. He hasn't actually won, but he's, like, creeping his way back up the
Yeah,
rankings
he's
and everything
playing. He's
now.
playing well. Like it's like those top guys. They're you can't knock them. I still think JT has a. I think he still has a chance too. Like I'm not. I believe like that's what I said. It's gonna be interesting on Sunday. It just
Yeah.
like because there's so many people that are playing well, or like it's like it's evened out a little bit because like last year like there's like Scotty was just playing out of this world, and
Right.
now he's kind of come back to earth, but also other people because Scotty was playing so well, they felt like they had to step it up this year. So you have a lot of people stepping their game up this year. The JTs, the Minwoo Lees, the Colin. Colin's always kind of been right there on the cusp, on the bubble. So he's right there. Ludwig, since he came in, he's been a stud. So it's all like they're all kind of right there right now. And if they can all pull their games together for the 4 days, like
Right.
I'm excited to see what it looks like. Like on Sunday, I'll be glued to the TV,
Oh,
hoping that
obviously.
it's as
Totally.
as it's
Totally.
as tight as I thought it was going to be. I think it's going to be.
Okay. So Sunday, who is your dream? Like, this would be the most amazing, awesome, like, final pairing. Who do you think would, like? Well, for you,
Final.
okay. For the sake of everybody's, like, ratings wise, what people would want to watch the most, what would be that, and what would be, like, for you personally, who would you like to see? Who's your final group?
So rating wise, I think the final pairing would be Scotty and Rory.
Right.
I think that's just gonna the internet would explode. Like if it was those two. Um, for me, gosh, um, that's a good question. Because like you want it to be someone unexpected that's like fighting for, um, hmm. Oh, I know. So Bryson and Rory,
That would be your, yeah, okay.
or Bryson and Brooks.
Ah, okay. Two
Even
live
though
guys.
their
Nice.
rivalry is kind of chilled out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think to see like yeah, any of those guys, Scotty and Rory, Bryson and Rory, uh, Bryson and Brooks, Brooks and Rory, I think would be a conversation starter. Um, yeah. Otherwise, like there's no real. I mean, there's really no obviously no beef really on the tour of people that are like that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. There's
so maybe Phil and Rory would be
see that.
entertaining.
See that is actually that would have been my answer for both ratings wise, and what I would think would be the most hilarious final pairing would be Rory and Phil.
Yeah,
Somehow Phil turns back the clock and it's like 2005 all over again, or whatever that year was when he first won the Masters. Like if he was somehow able to turn back the clock and like rock those Travis Scott Jordan customs that he that he wears.
that would be funny. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but like do that, and then on the other side is Phil. On the other side is Rory, and we all know the drama between those two, and whether I have no idea what the current state of that is, but
I
I
don't
would
either.
imagine that people would eat that up. People would just make up the narrative in their mind about how much they either hate each other or they're bros
Yep.
now or whatever. Just people would just absolutely love that, just to see those two on the final group for
Yeah.
18 holes in Augusta on a Sunday. That would be wild. So yeah,
Is Keegan in the Masters?
I think wait, I would
Yeah, he
imagine he
is.
would be.
I think the
Yeah.
golf nerds would love to see Keegan win.
Ah, is there like a
Just because
synthetic
he's a
cave or
captain.
something? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Is it one of those?
Just because
Okay,
he's
yes.
yeah. Like if he won and he's captain this year, I think people would just lose their shit. That'd give the U.S. team so much energy
Sure.
for
And
this
we already
year.
talked about it before. Like he there was that video that came out of, was it Full Swing, where he was talking or whatever. There was a video of him talking about like how they're gonna kick the European team's ass and all that stuff, and that's the energy that we need. And okay,
Yeah,
so now that you've said that, I think it'd be funny if it was like, who's the captain on the European side, or just like a
I don't
prominent
know.
European player. Like it would be funny if it was like Keegan and like somebody prominent on the European team, or
I mean, it
Rory.
could be Rory. It could
It
be
could be
Shane
Rory.
Lowry.
Yeah, Shane
Could be
Lowry. Yeah,
a number of guys. It could be Ludwig.
yeah, yeah. So like, it would be funny if it was like one of the like Keegan. Like I think Keegan would be like the one on the U.S. side just because of like his recent actions and everything. But like someone
Yeah,
prominent on the European side would make it a very interesting final pairing. Just to be
yeah,
like,
for
this is a
sure.
preview of the Ryder Cup or whatever you want to call it. So I think that would be fun. But yeah, now looking forward to you calling me again from the Masters phone booth. That is one of the funniest things anybody has ever done. Is like, I didn't actually get to answer the phone. You just left a message, and honestly, I actually still have I saved that number because it just says Augusta National Telephone or something, whatever. I saved that number because I'm like, yeah, no, this is never not gonna be funny that I have a number from like
Yeah,
Augusta National because, like you said, there's a lot of rules at Augusta National. You can't bring your phones or anything like that. So
yeah.
yeah, you actually tried to call me on a phone. You did call me on a phone booth, and I didn't answer because I was like, "What the hell number is this?"
Yeah. I mean,
And it was
I
it
probably
probably
wouldn't have answered either, to
yeah.
be fair.
Yeah, and it was like straight to voicemail. I don't know if it was straight to voicemail or if it was like the ring, but I was like, the heck. And then I listened to it and I'm like, because some I don't pay attention to even those voicemails. I'll just read the whatever the transcription is. Then I realized it was you, and I'm like, oh man, that was pretty good.
Good
That was
stuff.
pretty good. So I'm
Good
looking
stuff.
forward to this year's iteration of that. I will. Hopefully, it's the same phone booth and it's the same number, so it comes.
The same number. Yeah. That'd be sick if it's the same
I
number.
will. I will definitely pick up that times because it's saved now. It's actually gonna ring. So when you do call, so I am definitely looking forward to that. And you're gonna be like,
yeah.
"Hey man, merch is so and so. Which one do you want or something? You want to know?
Yeah.
You want to know
For real. Yeah, that's really what it's going to be.
So how much stuff are you going to be bringing back? Is that what's going to be? Like
I don't know. I
everybody's-
brought back a lot of stuff last year for people. Not last year, but last time I went for people. So I don't think I'm gonna bring back much this year. Like I'll probably get a gnome. I may get myself a hat, but I don't think I'm gonna get a ton of stuff again. Like I may get some stuff for like my golf coach, my swing instructor, as I guess is the proper name. But that's probably about it. Not going crazy this year. Like I already went
Looking
crazy.
forward to, the food setup there at Augusta.
Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah, it's like $1.50 for a burger or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's the only thing I'm
Like,
excited
no
about.
tariffs here.
No, yeah,
Augusta National can afford it. They don't. care.
yes, yes.
There's one thing
exactly.
that we've learned through the years is that Augusta National, whether it's public pressure or sponsorships or whatever, they do not care.
Not at all.
will
We'll
do
do
what
it
they want.
ourselves.
They will do it themselves. I will always remember that one year where there was a lot of fervor about like I believe it was like letting a female member in, or was it I forget what the controversy was, and like there was like a couple sponsors who backed out, and Augusta was like, fine, we'll just do this commercial free. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that's messed up, but also, man, you guys have a lot of money.
It's a hell of a flex. Yeah, we'll just do it commercial free. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, man. Jeez. Anyways, but actually this week there is like an amateur, like women's.
Yeah, the
golf
women's amateur.
And I
Yeah,
believe there was somebody who shot like a pretty low score. I forget what her name is. I apologize, but yeah, it looks like she did pretty well. So shout out to her.
yeah. She shot the record. I think she shot the record for the low. I'll have to look it up.
That's awesome.
I should do a
Let's look
reel.
at, like,
I should do a reel
so
about her too. Yeah, I should do a
Yes.
reel about her.
We should probably look up that name, but yes, but shout
Yeah,
out to
yeah.
her.
I'll do. We'll do a reel about her today. Just show her some love.
Yes. I'll leave it in the show notes just so we're not like terrible people. But anyways,
Yeah.
this was episode 31 of the Too Hard to Pass podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Leave the 5-star ratings. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, I will ignore that last one. Send them to the mailbag. Again, the email address is toohardtopasspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's toohardtopasspodcast@gmail.com. That's the number 2. Number two. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I think that's about it. I will try to figure out the blue sky thing of it all. But yes, we are on those things. So check those out for all the clips and all that stuff. We've got a lot of good stuff on there. But yes, I am your co-host, Juan Martinez and Jacques.
I am Jacques Slade. Thank you guys for watching / listening. We appreciate you. Yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna keep this going. All right, y'all. We out of here. Peace.
We out.